Hey guys, I'm Mark, and today I want to do a tomato tasting, but I'm not going to taste all the varieties in my garden because there's over 35 varieties that are ready right now, and if I tasted all of them and went on down the line, that would be a huge video. So I thought I'd cut it up for sake of time. This video is going to be about the purple varieties, the pink ones, the brown, and the black types, at least the ones I'm growing this year. So I've got 13, and they're all slicers. I've also got some cherry tomatoes that kind of qualify as a black or brown, but that's going to be a different video. So anyway, this video is going to be about slicers, black, brown, pink, purple, and then the next video is going to be about all the other kinds, like the yellow, the orange, the bicolors, and then another video yet is going to be the regular red round slicers, like solid red tomatoes, and then the cherry tomato snacking type varieties are going to be the last video. So I've got 13 varieties on the table here. I'll start off with, we're going to go on alphabetical order. So I'm going to start off with Abraham Lincoln. It's an old variety. This variety, it's specifically is called a 1923 Abraham Lincoln. And you can see the size of these. I don't think they're all going to be this big, but these are the first two that got ripe. I'm going to preface the front end of this video saying that these tomatoes that are here are the first ones to ripen. Some of them I've never even tasted before. So the jury's still out on how they're going to perform as a whole, but I'm basically just going to tell you what I think of them at first glance or first taste. So this is probably more along the lines of what the tomato is going to, the 1923 Abraham Lincoln is going to wind up being size-wise and shape-wise, just based on looking at the green tomatoes that are still left on the plant. But we'll go ahead and slice it open and see what it looks like. This one I've personally never tried. There's a lot of tomatoes in this garden that I haven't tried personally yet because I've been saving them. I want to do it on a video, just to taste them for the first time in front of you guys. It's required a lot of self-control, but this one I haven't tasted yet. It's a mild flavor. It's not a really rich, not a very powerful flavor. It's mild. I'm surprised. The texture is great. It's meaty, not too much wateriness, not too much gel and seed cavities. Great texture. The reason why I say I'm surprised is because this tomato last year, at least a cousin of it, or a different strain of Abraham Lincoln, had a much bolder, I'm not gonna say smokier flavor, but it had a much richer taste to it. This is a much cleaner flavor, almost like a Brandywine. Very good tomato. Keep in mind, guys, that when I'm tasting these and as I taste them, that's in early August right now, and the flavor profiles of these tomatoes will change throughout the season. An example of that would be, we'll talk about this later in a later video, but this is a Virginia Sweets. This is one of my favorite tomatoes here in this box, and the flavor of that is unbelievable now and throughout the summer, but once you start getting into the cooler months and into fall, before you talk about that first frost, before you get, getting into that sort of territory, the flavor of that, it just gets this funny, weird, sort of waxy flavor. It's hard to describe, but the flavor profiles will change. So this is early August, and this is what they taste like now, the very first fruits coming off the plant. African Queen, we'll move on to that one. We'll put this giant guy back. That's the 1923 Abraham Lincoln again. I'm just going to leave these little stickers on, the blue stickers. If you're wondering what those are, they're just painter's tape that wound up being really easy for me, just to write the initials of what they are so that I know what they are as I was loading them into boxes. But if you're doing this at home, it's a great technique. So anyway, this is African Queen. And this pretty much looks like a Brandywine, like a perfect Brandywine, I would say. It's got very little cracking on it. Nice plant, but I've never tasted this one either. So let's see. Do I want to slice this one or that? Yeah, we'll slice this one. Bread knives work really well for this, by the way. That's what I'm using here. So there's the inside of it. Similar to the one before. Not too much gel or seed cavity going on. And we'll see what this one tastes like. Holly's running through the corn. It's sweeter. It's sweeter than the 1923, but the texture isn't as good. It's a little bit, it's not mealy, but it's not as perfectly smooth as the 1923. So the flavor, I would say, is a little bit better, maybe. I don't know about better. I hate using the word better, but the flavor's a little bit sweeter, maybe a hair stronger, and then but just the texture is just a little off compared to that one. Tasty tomato, beautiful tomato. It looks like on the plant itself, there's going to be some green tomatoes that wind up being larger than these two. So these tomatoes that are laid out on the table, they're pretty much just the tomatoes that were ripe right now. So they're not very reflective, or they're not a good representation necessarily of what the size and shape of most of the tomatoes that are going to be on that plant. I tried the best that I could, but some of these guys, like Brandywine is the next one up, or the second after the next one up. These can usually get a little bit bigger than they are here, at least a lot bigger than that one. But just keep that in mind as I go through. All right, so Brandy Boy. Brandy Boy is a hybrid with Brandywine in its genes. Last year I grew Big Brandy, which was a regular leaf plant, and that was an exceptional tomato. I also grew it again this year, but it's not quite ready yet. I don't have any ripe tomatoes on that plant, but I do have ripe tomatoes on this one, and this is a potato leaf, just like Brandywine, and it had a lot of fruit on it. The fruit looks really uniform, nice color, nice shape, early. Oh wow. I should probably just cut all these in the same way. I'll cut them across the grain like that, like I did with the first two. See the inside of that one? A little bit different. I mean, they all sort of look the same, yes, but you know, when you taste them, there is a definite difference. That one's not quite as sweet as the first two, but the texture is right up there with the 1923 Abe Lincoln. The Abe Lincoln's been the best texture so far. That's going to be our benchmark there. Really nice color. The fruit uniformity, I think, is what really shines out for this plant. Another great tomato. I mean, none of them have really been disappointing yet. I'll try that again. Yeah, good tomato. I'm going to try to toss these pieces as I go so that I don't have anything mixed up here. Let's slice into the Brandywine Sudduth strain. Brandywine is one of those varieties that have been around for forever, so there's a lot of different variations of this. This is the Sudduth strain, but there's a bunch of them. Same thing with Mortgage Lifter. We'll get to that wherever that is. Here's one. Okay, so this is the Sudduth strain. Very meaty tomato. Not as many seed cells in there, but they're still small. Look at all the meat there. Very pretty. Brandywine it's hard to beat for flavor and texture, both. I mean, if you think tomato, you think Brandywine. It's such a great variety. And it's got like a little bit of a different flavor to it. I mean, I don't know, it sort of stands out. It has a flavor to it that a lot of other tomatoes don't necessarily have, but it's also a very classic flavor, if that makes sense. I mean, it's unique, but it's classic. It's just a wonderful tomato. I haven't noticed a whole lot of variation between the different Brandywines. Most of the variation between the different strains that I see usually has to do with productivity or fruit size, things like that. But the flavors, from what I've seen so far and the ones that I've grown, they always seem to be right on point. Carbon. Okay, so these next three tomatoes are all related in some way. This is Carbon. This is an heirloom. Over here is Purple Cherokee. And then right in the middle is a cross between the two. So this is Cherokee Carbon. That's a hybrid. Carbon's been around for a while. Cherokee Purple's been around. The Cherokee Purple, I'm not very happy with this plant this year. It's sort of stunted, and the fruit to me seems a little more of the brown color scheme than usually it's in more of a purple color field, I find. And it just, I don't know, that plant this year, I mean, you're going to have variation between individuals. And I only planted one Cherokee Purple this year, and you know, I've had better years as far as that goes. But we'll try the Carbon out, and we'll talk more about that in a second. I have tasted this one so far this year, but this is the first year that I've grown Carbon. Okay, look at that. So much darker color to it. You can see the seed cavities have that nice dark deep green to them. Very pretty tomato. Smoky flavor. Texture is excellent, right up there with the 1923 and the Brandywine. I would even say the 1923 Abraham Lincoln beats the Brandywine. I don't think I mentioned that when I tried the Brandywine. I'm still really happy with that one over there. But this one is right up there with it as far as texture goes. I don't like a mealy tomato. I like a nice smooth textured tomato. Like a lot of people say they like the Roma plums and Milano plums and things like that. Whenever I've grown them, I find them to be sort of mealy when I eat them fresh. People say they love them fresh. I'm not one of those people. But I like a smoother textured tomato like this. Good, strong, acidic flavor. I'm just gonna have another piece. Why not? Yeah, not super sweet, but robust. I'm gonna leave this on the board just so that when I slice open the next two, because they're so similar, maybe you can tell a little bit of a difference there. Let's see, which one of these do we want to cut? Let's cut that guy, it's got a crack in it. A lot of these black varieties and purple varieties and brown varieties, they tend to crack a little more. The skins seem to be a little thinner on them. Having a real nice thick layer of mulch will help with that. Okay. It's really pretty similar. Seed cavity structure is a little different, but as far as color goes, I would think that these three would be almost indiscernible, but we'll see. It's sweeter. It's sweeter than this one, but it's not as powerful of a flavor as this one. This one's got a much, not much, but noticeable enough, more of a, I don't know, a smokiness or almost like a bit of a vinegar taste to it, like a balsamic vinegar, almost more of an element to this one. This one's just a little more mild. Same texture though. So that's Cherokee Carbon. Now Cherokee Purple. Let's see. Let's slice this guy open. It's a little bit, some little more whiter tissues in there, but I mean, they're identical. I would say that these two, to me, look a little bit more similar to one another than this one. I think this one is the most different out of the three that I'm seeing here. I don't know how good of a job the camera is at picking that up, but that's what I see. I'd say it's right on par with this one, but the flavor is just a little bit different. Tastes almost more like a grape, if I had to say. Sweetness, texture, these guys are pretty much identical. I'm going to go back to the middle one here just to confirm. Yeah, definitely a softer flavor on that one. But with Cherokee Carbon, you're going to get the hybrid vigor. So you're going to notice that the fruit shape and the fruit size, they have a little bit less cracking going on, and you get a little bit more of a rounder fruit, not as much cat facing and things like that. And the production is going to be a little bit better. So if you're a market gardener and you want to sell heirloom tomatoes, I would go with growing this one just for that reason right there. Less of your tomatoes are going to wind up hitting the compost pile. But let's get these guys out of the way. I love tasting tomatoes. Let's see, so we're going to work our way this way now. We're going to stay in alphabetical order. This is Dester, D-E-S-T-E-E-R. Well, you can see the sign. But I've never tried this one before. This is another one that my buddy Dave recommended to me. So now we're back in that nice rosy red territory. You can see how we got off of the purple black variety. Now we're back into like a purple red. Solid all the way through. No green seed cavities. That's fantastic. Very nice tomato. Clean flavor, just the right amount of tang to it, punch to it. It's not too sharp, it's not too dull. Pretty tomato also. This one, Ava's Purple Ball, this is an interesting tomato. Very productive plant, good disease resistance. I grew this when I was maybe 14 years old, and I have not tasted it since. It's got an interesting habit to it. I noticed that when I was picking these, and I don't remember this from when I was a lot younger, but they have a way of sort of just falling right off the plant when they're ready. I noticed when I walked up to the plant, when I was picking these, there was one laying on the ground, and it's like, wow, that's unusual. Maybe it fell off, maybe it was rotten on the bottom or something like that, but I picked it up, it was a perfect tomato, and then I went to reach for the next one, and it snaps off right in your hand. It just comes off super easy, so I wouldn't let these guys ripen too much, because they'll wind up falling on you. But I don't know too many tomatoes that do that, not in this size and shape range anyways. Okay, large seeds, large white seeds. Nice, even, uniform. That's, I think, the claim to fame to this tomato is that's what you get is nice, even, uniform fruits. Not a whole lot of cat facing going on. No weird, crazy shapes. Not a whole lot of cracking. You've got red that goes right up to the stem. No greening at the shoulders or micro cracking or anything. I call it micro cracking. I don't know what you guys call it, but when you have, let's see if I have an example of that. This one had some. Not too much. This is larger cracking, but some tomatoes have like a wrinkly, small little micro cracks. I don't know, that's what I call them around the stem. This has none of that. Okay. Very nice texture. The skin on it is a little bit thicker. It's not as delicate as like some of these guys, and I think that explains why it doesn't have any cracks to it. Wow, texture is fantastic. This is just as good as the 1923. Good classic tomato flavor. Nice texture, right amount of sweetness. Probably one of the sweeter ones that I've had so far on the table. See where this goes right here. All right, let's go on to Mullen's. Mullen's mortgage lifter. Look at that. That could be like in a painting. That's beautiful. Let's peel the sticker off. Holly! Holly, where are you? Come here. There she is. Good girl. A lot more pale on the inside than we've seen so far. This is just a big, pink, meaty tomato. Again, mortgage lifter. This is one where there's a bunch of different strains. This variety has been around for a while, so different people have had their hands on it, and they've kind of morphed it into a few different varieties, a few different strains. I've also got Kissenberry's mortgage lifter growing, or Kissenberry's, Q-U-I-S-E-N, but that one's not quite ripe yet, so I can't do a a comparison with that one in the picture, but maybe later in the season we'll do one side by side and kind of show the differences. It almost tastes like beef or something, like some kind of meat. It's got a really unique sweetness to it. Yeah, almost doesn't even taste like a tomato. It's sweet, texture's great. Huh. That's one I've never tried this variety before. I'm gonna have to revisit that one later tonight. All right, well, I'll pile each one in front of its corresponding sign here for a while. That's probably the best way to keep these guys organized. Okay, so we got Mullen's mortgage lifter. Now we're going to go on to Purple Russian. I think this is also called Ukrainian black, but it's not quite a plum tomato, and it's not really an oxheart tomato either. There's a lot of variation between fruits, the size and shape of them, but it's got a good purple color to it. Very productive plant. Let's see, I think I'm going to slice this one. I call these slicers. I try to categorize these tomatoes the best I can into categories if they will fit, but a lot of tomatoes, they sort of span into a few different categories, really. This could be a plum tomato. This, I guess, could be a snacking tomato if you wanted to stretch it. Be a black tomato, could be a slicing tomato. It makes things difficult from a nurseryman standpoint when we're selling the plants, and we try to organize them as best as we can for our spreadsheets and things. And then to sell them and organize them on the tables too can be challenging, but Purple Russian. I mean, they're all unique. Great flavor. The skin is a little thicker for a black variety. It has a really unique flavor. I can't quite describe what it is. Almost like a smoky grapefruit. Yeah, smoky grapefruit. That's the best you're gonna get. I'm no wine connoisseur or anything like that, and I only have so many friends that are really into tomatoes enough to talk about the flavors, so I'm just kind of making stuff up as I go in terms of how I'm describing these guys and the flavor. This is Royal Hillbilly. This I thought was going to have a little bit more of a marbled look to the outside of it, because I'm thinking Hillbilly, right? And I'm pretty sure that's one of its parents, but a lot of the tomatoes that I'm pulling off this plant, or at least so far the ones that are ripening, they're just a solid pink. Nice meaty tomato with smaller seeds. Holly? Holly, come here. Texture's great. The flavor's not very strong. This is probably the most mild tomato on the table so far out of all the ones I've tasted tonight. So if you like a good, I guess, lower acid would be to describe the flavor. I don't know if it's got the same amount of acid technically as the rest of these, but it's definitely a softer palate type tomato. Royal Hillbilly. Nice smooth texture. And then last of the line, Curtis Cheek. This is like a rosy pink oxheart type tomato. I have tried this before. I've had one tomato off of this plant so far, and it was exceptional. I believe I did that one on camera. Yeah, and that one's no different. This is a great tomato. The plants, the actual plants of this is a pretty large plant. And the foliage is like sort of one of those typical plum-looking tomato type foliage. It always kind of almost looks like it's dying. The way that the foliage kind of droops, sort of like a plum. A lot of plums and upside down teardrop shaped tomatoes. The plants themselves will wind up looking like that. I'm not sure why that is, but this one's no different. But unique, sweet and smoky, great texture. It's juicy. It's got a lot of juice to it. It's not as dry as some of these other ones, and that surprises me, given the fact that there's not a whole lot of seed wall activity or seed cavities in here. But that's wonderful. Okay, well, that wraps it up for 13 varieties that I got on the table tonight. Again, I'm going to go through the next video that I do. I'm going to do the bicolor ones, the yellow ones. It's the everything else category, I guess you would say, is the yellow ones, the orange ones, the green ones. Did we get this on camera? I don't think we did. All these guys. That's what we'll do the next video on. And then we're also going to do another video on the solid red types. I call these the reddish orange, solid, regular red round tomatoes. And then we'll do another video yet on the smaller snacking tomatoes, the cherries and grapes and things like that. So for now, thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you on the next one.